What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Happy 2020, as we are about to go through the very first tier list of 2020, and this is definitely a very highly anticipated video, so hopefully you guys do go on to enjoy this video today. But before we get into the nitty gritty of talking about our tier list, I want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I know you guys out there have probably seen many advertisements of Raid Shadow Legends before, but let me tell you, this is one of the best RPG experiences to ever hit mobile screens. So currently you guys are seeing some gameplay from the campaign. Now the campaign's really awesome because it is a fully voiced campaign, so it is very high quality, as well as being able to gain access to some EXP to start leveling up your champions. And also you can see here just how simple the gameplay is. Obviously it is turn-based. You get to activate your character's specials first, then the enemy will attack theirs. You also have an auto mode, so if you guys do not feel like playing a certain mission, you can let the auto mode play for you, which obviously is less engaging, but sometimes you know you need to grind up some things, and this is definitely a really good way to go ahead and do that. Raid Shadow Legends also has like a really cool vibe, and it reminds me a lot of the Elder Scrolls series, or like a very popular series right now, The Witcher. Definitely gives me lots of vibes of those types of games. Additionally, Raid Shadow Legends also has some of the best graphics that you guys will see on any mobile game in the market right now. And now you can play Raid on your mobile device and also your desktop. The game is cross-device, so you can play it with the same user and switch between devices whenever you want and however you want. The graphics are amazing in the PC version of the game and is also super fast, as well as to say it is also a free-to-play game. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description right now, click on the special link, and if you are a new player, you're going to get access to 100,000 free silver and one free champion known as Hexweaver. Just have a look at this footage, man. Hexweaver looks absolutely phenomenal and definitely is a champion you want to get your hands on. To access all these free gifts, make sure to go ahead and click the treasure chest in the top right hand corner of the screen to get access to all these free goodies when you log into Raid Shadow Legends. But you gotta be quick because these treasures will only last for the first 30 days, so you gotta make sure you log in and get your rewards. So what are you waiting for? Make sure to go ahead down below in the video description, click the special link to get acquainted with Raid Shadow Legends today. And once again, thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. So massive shout out to the sponsor of this video today. So let's get into it, right? So first of all, I just updated this tier list literally right before I started recording. Started recording on the 7th of January Australian time, which for PST time that would be on the 6th still. And of course the criteria hasn't really changed all that much. It's still the same factors that I go through with ranking these characters. Now these are predominantly ranked as if they were captains, like usable captains really. Although sub usage definitely plays a part in this tier list, that is for sure. But mainly it's about how usable some of these units are as captains for clearing content. That's the way that I look at it. So the tier list obviously is the power of the unit. So as a captain, do they provide lots of power? So that is obviously multiple different things, whether it be color affinity, attack multiplier, and just stuff like that. Speed of the unit, so do they give additional cooldown, or are there certain factors where you don't even need a stall for the character because of certain effects in their captain ability? Stuff like that. Reliability of the unit, so you know, do they have damage reduction? Do they have HP boosts? Do they have healing mechanics? Just how reliable are they at clearing content? And then there's the initial clear rate as well. So are there pieces of content where units cannot even clear it? And for some of these units, that is the case. They literally can't clear it either because of their multipliers. They don't have enough, damage reduction. Just the fact that the unit is not built for beating certain content. It's just the way that it is. And also they're usable units. So what kind of variety can you get from using this unit, not only as a captain, but as a sub? Can they be put on lots of different teams? Even on teams where the character is not boosted, sometimes you might want to put that unit on there anyway, just because their special ability is so good, right? So of course there are definitely units like that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with tier 4, so there has been an additional tier has been added to the tier list. Now previously, if you guys would have seen the tier list, there were 4 tiers. So tier 0, 1, 2, 3. This time there's tier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 5 total tiers. This is the 4th tier. but basically I've just broken up one of my other tiers into 2 separate ones, which I think makes a lot of sense considering the characters that we'll talk about when we get to that point. But for tier 4, no real changes. Well, actually there was a change, the addition of 6+ Boa Hancock. Now the reason why I've put 6+ Boa Hancock here is because she is now a free spirit captain. If she still maintained her shooter captain, I don't think she would be in this tier, but the fact that she now is a free spirit boosting captain means that you can definitely hybrid her up with some of the other more powerful characters in the game, such as Luffy and Ace, or Sabo and Coalla, so there is definitely some variety that you can use there. Also, her special ability did get quite a pretty big change, you know, now being a 2x color affinity booster. I would have preferred if it was something a little bit different, because you've already got a character like Sabo and Coalla with their switch ability, they can already guarantee you some color affinity. So I'm really not the biggest fan of the fact that she is a color affinity booster, but hey, look, there's not much we can really do about that. V2 Boa's got a pretty good captain ability overall. She can go up to a 3.75. She has a healing mechanic inbuilt with her captain, so I think it's 1200 recovery per turn. So with double V2 Boa, you can heal back 2400 with 3400 if you have auto healing. I might get the numbers wrong there, but you know, it's at least 3000 recovery per turn with double V2 Boa. But of course, if you're going to be using Boa for very difficult content, it's probably better just to run a friend Sabo and Coalla if you don't have them yourself. If you do have Sabo and Coalla, you're pretty much never using Boa as a captain, unless of course it was the most latest treasure map, which she was a higher point booster, so you could run a pretty good team with her. But outside of that, yeah, unfortunately, Boa Hancock, I don't think she really got an amazing super evolution. There's definitely some components that I don't like about the character. Mainly, the thing that I don't like about her is that there's no beneficial slots with her at all. As a captain, she doesn't provide any beneficial slots to your free spirit units, and with her special ability, does not provide any beneficial slots, where her prior to her super evolution unit, she would provide all type orbs beneficial to your shooter characters for 2 turns, and they just removed that from her special ability, which I'm personally not a very big fan of. But look, she is definitely a lot better than her original form. It's just that there are definitely some components that could have been tweaked to make her a little bit more powerful. No other units in this tier from last month were moved up, but everything's pretty much like self-explanatory. We've got this Corazon, dude. I love this Corazon. I use him so often, like either as a support unit or as a sub. He can just be run on a lot of different teams, and because Sabo and Coalla are so prevalent right now, him being a free spirit and cerebral unit, you can run that on those teams to get those amazing boosts. Or of course, you know, you could run it on as a support on a lore character, and there are a couple of cerebral versions of lore, mainly like this guy, to get his abilities as a support unit. So still very, very good. Nothing really too much else I really want to talk about. Well, we are getting Stampede Celebration very soon, right? And with that introduces a brand new batch of support abilities. This guy will be getting a support ability. Well, I hope that they're bringing the support batch with the Stampede event, because if they are, because that means this guy's going to get a really good support ability. His support ability is so good. So he supports his own batch, which was Tanaka, Baccarat, Dice, and I think Karina as well. And what happens is when that unit when Tesaurus attached to that unit, when the support unit uses their special, I believe he gives you a 3x chain lock for 1 turn. Very nice ability that you can just get just for free, basically, with his support ability. So that's really nice. So that's about what we have looking forward to for this month. Like, V2 Rayleigh, it is kind of a shame, because when he first came out, he was definitely, like, my favorite legend in the game. I would love to see this V2 Rayleigh get a super evolution at some point, but we will have to wait and see. But that's all pretty much I really wanted to say about Tier 4. Like, it's basically the same as last month, just added with V2 Boa. So now let's move up to Tier 3. So Tier 3 is essentially last month's Tier 2 listings. However, the change here is that I have added Shirahoshi Mancherry to this list. Now, some people might be losing their absolute minds right now as to why I put this character in Tier 3. Now, I pulled this character, and I've been using this character, obviously, with the latest Blitz battle that's just been coming out. I used her on Treasure Map. I've been using her a lot since I've pulled her, so I can safely say this. I hate her captain ability, and of course this tier list is predominantly based around their usage as a captain. So because of that, I'm really not a big fan of this character. Her captain ability is extremely weak, especially in their solo forms. A 3x boost to all of your units, right? But when Shirahoshi is your unit, of course, as the captain, she only gives herself a 1.2 boost or something like that. It's ridiculous. Shirahoshi herself does no damage, and then when Mancherry is your captain, all you get is a 2.75 boost to your whole team. So the solo forms are not really that great. Obviously the healing mechanics are actually pretty good, and when you combine into their dual form, it's a 3.5 captain, which is fine. but you only get it for 1 turn, which again is a pretty big drawback. I would still have loved it if it was a 3-turn combination into their dual form. That would make this unit a whole lot better than what it currently is right now. Another thing that I'm not really the biggest fan of is the fact that when you activate their special ability, you get a full board of matching slots, which is okay. But the really good component, of course, is the removable of 2 different debuffs by 10 turns. I love that. That's a really, really nice, unique mechanic that only this character has. But the fact that they give you a full board of matching slots, I'm not the biggest fan of. I would have preferred it is if they just given you a full board of rainbow slots, and then their switch ability do something else, because their switch ability makes matching slots and their own slot into rainbow. They also remove special bind and slot bind by 1 turn. Now, I think that they should have added more utility to their swap effect. That would have been awesome. But of course, the main utility component of the character is their special ability, because you can remove literally any status ailment by 10 turns, which is pretty powerful. Including some of the like status ailments that were never be able to be removed before, such as normal attacks only, such as the special limiter debuff. Like, this character is so unique for those specific debuffs. Just having that is so good. And another thing as well is that in a hypothetical situation, if you have every single character in the game, the thing is that so many different classes now have their own utility-based units that you don't really need Shirahoshi Mancherry if you have a vast array of characters. Yes, you can definitely run Shirahoshi Mancherry on teams where they are not boosted because of that amazing special ability, but the thing is so many classes have their own utility-based units now that even if you did have this unit and you could run it on a team where she's not really boosted, it's just that some of the other classes just have their own utility units. You don't need Shirahoshi Mancherry to get rid of certain effects on your crew. Of course, there are going to be certain pieces of content where, you know, their special ability is basically built for it, or their special ability is so nice to remove a lot of turns of a certain status ailment that's inflicted to your team. But just overall, just by using her lately since I've pulled her, I haven't been that impressed, in my personal opinion. And as I said, all the changes that I've already said, I think would have been an amazing change to the character, like the rainbow slots upon special ability. It would have been better if they had a 3-turn combination for their captain ability. Like, I understand some of the choices why they did it, because obviously in their dual form, they can basically be a zombie captain. So I guess if people were able to abuse that, maybe that's the reason they didn't do it. I don't know. I don't really know why they didn't do it that way, but I would have preferred it to be a 3-turn combination. But as for the rest of the characters in this tier, nothing has changed. Well, we've got Nami, of course. Her Super Evolution did come out. I was tempted to put her in the tier above, but the main reason why I didn't is because her captain ability is still a dex boosting captain at the end of the day. She does reduce cooldowns at the start of the adventure by 1. Like, her captain ability is definitely better, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a dex captain, which doesn't really give you a lot of variety, but her special ability has gotten amazing upgrades with the removal of paralysis and the removal of burn by 3 turns each, as well as still applying the 2x orb boost, the 1.75 times color affinity. They also removed the condition that was placed on her special where your captain had to be like free spirit, driven, cerebral, or powerhouse. Your captain no longer has to be those classes in order to get the color affinity and orb boost now, which is pretty good. So she is definitely better, but just looking at the characters in tier 2, I think that remember, predominantly as a captain, you would rather use the characters in tier 2 as a captain, but you do have to remember that Nami as a sub is still very, very strong. And she still is a common sub that you are going to see play with. That she's still really, really good. Just in my opinion, her captain ability should have been either buffed a little bit more, or just the fact that they should have done something a little bit different. And the fact that it is, yeah, it's only a dex captain, and that's understandable. It's just nowhere near as good as some of the characters in tier 2. But I guess that's about it for tier 3. Again, nothing really has changed in terms of the characters here. I do think that the characters in tier 3 are just better than the characters in tier 4 in terms of mainly using them as a captain. Obviously, the sub usage of characters like Corazon and Shirahoshi and V1 Law definitely will see more play compared to some of these guys as a sub, but obviously the way that we structure things here. Now let's go on to tier 2. So this is the tier 2 structure, and again, this is basically the tier 1 of last month. So basically what has changed is the tier 0 has been split up a little bit just to separate some of the characters a little bit more, because tier 0 has to be a very special tier, obviously, to the best characters of One Piece Treasure Cruise. And the fact is there were so many characters in tier 0 from last month's tier list that I kind of wanted to just separate it and definitively put which are the best characters in the game. So moving on to tier 2, I was very tempted to move Lucy down to tier 3. But then looking at things here, you can see that the characters in tier 3, I think Lucy is a much better captain than a lot of the units in this tier here. So just looking at that, I'm like, yeah, Lucy probably still deserves to be in tier 2 still. He's still really good. Considering his age, man, it is, I pretty much I say that every single month, but like Lucy's age is just, it's crazy. But the character is still really, really good. I mean, it is what it is. His character is still freaking phenomenal. But obviously the new addition here, as you can see, is Vivi and Rebecca. I said this previously in the videos, even like just talking about when the units were releasing. I definitely think Vivi Rebecca is the better unit overall, comparing the two waifus with Vivi Rebecca and Shirahoshi Bancherry. I think their captain ability obviously is much stronger, of course. The multiplier that you can get to is much higher with Vivi and Rebecca. Even in their solo forms, the multipliers you can get to are very, very solid. And they both have like really good solo captain abilities as well. Obviously, when you are building with Vivi and Rebecca, you do have to be very, very careful because it is based on solely color affinity. There is a very, very minor attack boost, but the color affinity is what makes up a large majority of your damage. So if you're not attacking with type advantage, you're basically getting hardly any damage output with Vivi and Rebecca. Saying that though, if you do hit with type advantage, this unit it just hits like a truck. Vivi and Rebecca is very, very impressive. Since using them recently, since I pulled them, very, very impressive with them. Another thing that I really love about this character is their switchability. Their switchability is one of the best in the entire game, like bar none. Their switchability is so good. So when you switch, if you guys don't know, you heal 2000 HP at the end of the turn, which is very good. And also, you get a 2.5 times chain lock for one turn. And also, for your Striker and Cerebral units, I believe, changes Strength and Dex Orbs into matching. Very, very powerful switchability of Orb Manipulation, Healing, and a 2.5 Chain Lock. That can be used on a lot of different teams, and they have a very good special ability as well, giving you a 2x color affinity for 2 turns for Striker and Cerebral, and also remove all turns of Blue and Rainbow Shield. So the only other character that did something similar to that previously was the Int Rare Recruit Peckhams, who removed all turns of Blue Shield, and then you have Vivi and Rebecca, which also do that, but also remove all turns of Rainbow Shield, and also give you a 2.5 chain lock, and also do Orb Manipulation, and color affinity as well. Like, this unit is really good, and the fact that they are a Cerebral or Free Spirit or a Cerebral Striker unit, I believe, when they're switching between their two forms, they've got some really good classes and can be put on a lot of different teams. Namely Cerebral, of course. Sabo and Coalla are flying everywhere right now, and obviously spoilers, I do think they're one of the best characters in the entire game, and of course with the new release of the waifus, all of those characters work very well with Sabo and Coalla. So this character, I think, is a very easy slot in for tier 2. I don't know if I'd want to put them in tier 1 just because their captain ability, it just requires a lot of planning your team. And if you don't plan your team correctly, you're just going to die very, very quickly. You have to plan your team out very effectively. You have to know the content a lot before going into it with the Vivi and Rebecca teams, especially very, very difficult content like recent Colosseums and such. Planning your team is very, very important. As for the other characters here, no real changes. Luffy and Ace, I think I'm really not a big fan of Luffy and Ace nowadays, now that we just have a lot of other characters in the game. But of course, the fact that you can partner this character up with Sabo and Coalla is very, very good. You can do the same here with V2 Shanks. Sabo and Coalla Friend works very, very well. The two Admirals are still very strong, even though Akainu's end of turn damage gets gradually weaker with every month. I do think that V2 Akainu still has a place in the high ranks of these tiers. V2 Sanji, still amazing damage output. The rest of these characters here, pretty self-explanatory. I really love CatDog. CatDog is still one of my favorite legends in the game. And again, just really good classes. They are a Cerebral boosting captain, so again, works very well with Sabo and Coalla. You got Legend Cracker here as well. Legend Cracker is probably the best sub in the game, and he gets even better this month when we should be getting Douglas Bullet. Cracker becomes arguably the best sub in the game. I'd say objectively the best sub in the game upon Bullet's release, because Bullet is probably a tier 0 character. Then you have basically a tier 0 sub on a tier 0 captain team, and it's crazy, man. It is bonkers. So I'm really looking forward to pulling for Douglas Bullet and hopefully getting him. And the rest of these characters here, I mean, it is what it is. The slashes, like, the slashes just infuriate me. I think that they were released at such a poor time, right before Luffy and Law release, and Luffy and Law just completely outshadowed this guy. But look, the slashes are still really good, and they can still run around and do lots of damage, and they have pretty good utility units still. So that's the main reason why they're still here. They are still very, very solid. But let's move on to Tier 1. So this is now the official Tier 1 standings. So these are the characters that were moved down from Tier 0, and also an addition of Quick Whitebeard from Tier 2. I do think Quick Whitebeard is in like a whole different tier compared to the characters here. You could probably make arguments for CatDog to probably move up to Tier 1, and I would somewhat agree to that. I definitely would. I do think CatDog have a lot of good things going for them, just the fact that their classes are so good, and that the fact that they can be run with a lot of different units, and their utility is very good. Just a lot of things about CatDog makes me want to put them in Tier 1, and I probably would. Honestly, CatDog probably deserved Tier 1. But then again, when you look at some of the other characters on this listing, it's hard to put them in the same tier as Whitebeard and Marco, V2 Katakuri, Sanji and Judge, Bato and Cavendish, and also Quick Whitebeard. Quick Whitebeard, man, I do think that he is still very, very good, and I think he's kind of underrated. I think a lot of people kind of forget about him, that like he is available on Global. The fact that he is a low HP captain obviously turns a lot of people off of this character, but despite that, he is one of the best legends in the game. He has amazing damage output, he has amazing damage reduction, he has a very good special ability of a type boost, fixed damage through barriers, a combo boost. He does lots and lots of different things, and he's only going to be getting better over time as well, especially with the release of Kaido. This is like a really good unit to have if you don't have Kaido as your own captain, because he boosts the exact same classes that Kaido boosts. So like, honestly, when Kaido comes out and you don't have him, this is still a really good captain to use under Kaido. Obviously, Kaido doesn't want to be playing at low HP. He just wants to do as much damage as possible and kind of clear through content. But Global do have some units that, you know, you can use on those teams, like the Strength Log Ace. Yeah, the Log Ace unit that JP still doesn't have. That really cool unit works very well on Quick Whitebeard teams, and obviously will work very, very well with Kaido teams with really good utility. So just looking forward into things, I think Quick Whitebeard is going to be getting better and better over time. And I still think right now, as it stands, he's one of the best legends in the game. And I mean, what else is there to really say? I mean, we got some really powerful legends here. I guess let's just go to Tier 0, just to kind of compare the characters from Tier 0 to Tier 1. So the characters in Tier 0 are these three. Now, I do think that these three legends in Tier 0 are the current best in the game. Now, I couldn't really give you a number order of like which one's number 1, which is number 2, and which is number 3. I do think that all these three are like definitely the best in the game. Snake Man, even on JP as it stands right now, I would probably still leave him in a Tier 0 position on JP. Now, of course, I don't follow the JP side of things directly, but I kind of keep up to date with just playthroughs of content and stuff, and I do see a lot of people are still opting to use Snake Man for like latest content, like Colosseums and stuff. The latest Colosseum, Shuten Maru, that came out, Snake Man was like one of the first teams to clear it, which is quite surprising when you really think about it, considering he is kind of getting up there in terms of his age in One Piece Treasure Cruise, and he still goes to show he's still a really powerful legend. So I don't think that Snake Man is going to be moving anytime soon from Tier 0. Luffy and Law, obviously they're like the only legend in the game that have that really unique switch ability that enable their attacks to go through barriers. Now, of course, you got other characters like Carrot and Blackbeard and such, but the fact that they have their normal attacks, they can make their normal attacks as well as giving themselves a type boost. When you use their special, you get an orb boost as well. Their normal attacks that go through barriers does so much damage. And of course, this is one of the guys that I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that he's required, but I would say he's one of the most recommended units for clearing the GARP Challenge version 6, of course, because there's lots of stuff with defensive effects and barriers, and having an ability like this is making it a whole lot easier for clearing that content. And Sabo and Coalla, man, they're definitely the number 1 legend that I've been using as of late. They are just so strong, and they have so much viability in terms of sub usage. There is so many units you can use with them. The fact that they just cover a wide variety of units of Free Spirit and Cerebral. Even if you're not using them as a captain, as a sub, they are so good. Like, even like Luffy Law Captain with the Sabo Koala sub is really good, because you still get that 1.5 color affinity each turn when you activate your switch. And because every time you switch between Luffy and Law, the character is either Free Spirit or Cerebral, that means that every single turn you can get a 2x attack and a 1.5x color affinity on your Luffy Law that goes through barriers. It is just absurd how strong this combination is. Obviously, when you combine into Luffy and Law, they are no longer Free Spirit or Cerebral, so they don't get the type boosting effects from Sabo and Koala. But despite that, the amount of damage you get from these two characters alone is very good. And the fact that Snake Man is just a rainbow captain, he's a powerhouse unit, so you can utilize like these characters here, and the fact that you've got still going back to Bato and Cavendish, their switchability is one of the main reasons why they are so high. As a sub, they are just phenomenal for very difficult content, and they are definitely hands down the best driven captain in the game. There's no doubt about that. But I think Bato and Cavendish mainly rank so high is because of their defensive effects and kind of the things that they can just block from the enemy, which is really cool. But I guess that's about it. I mean, like, as I said, there's nothing really new here aside from the fact that it's been split and that Quick Whitebeard moved from the tier below to the tier above to the secondary split tier of tier 0, and that's basically it. If you guys disagree, obviously that's completely fine. This is my personal list of the characters, and it definitely invites discussion. So if you guys have any, you know, thoughts and opinions about the tier list, definitely let me know down below in the comment section. But I think overall this is a pretty fair listing of where all the characters, well, not every single SugoFest exclusive character, but where most of the characters should be placed. Now remember, this is predominantly based on if they were going to be used as a captain. And saying that, I think that this is a pretty fair assessment as to where they should be placed. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video today of breaking down my personal tier list. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.